Hello, welcome back, friends. Happy New Year to everyone who celebrates the Gregorian New Year, the Gregorian calendar. I think there's a lot of benefit to all of the different perspectives, but there definitely is a transition into the new year. So 2026 is officially here. It is a 1 year in numerology. So that means that we are starting a brand new cycle, a brand new 9-year cycle. And that means that a lot has closed out. So yeah, I already have some messages that have come through, but I'm just going to take a quick minute to cleanse the space for us to ground in here together, to receive whatever messages are coming through. This is a collective reading, so there will be messages present for whoever feels called to tune in to this message at whatever time or space you are connecting. So just take a few deep breaths and just intentionally connect to the space. I'm just getting a text message. All right, so that was just a little interruption. Sorry, I was just being asked if I needed anything from the store. So I just took a minute to respond, and I also cleansed all the cards and stuff that we're going to be using today. So I can't remember exactly what I was gonna say. 1 year. So we are entering a brand new 9-year cycle, which also means that a lot has closed out. So if you're anything like me, the energy in December was dense. We were in, if you follow the Chinese zodiac, the year of the snake, which means that there was a lot of shedding, especially because it was the year of the snake and 9 years. So it was a completion of a 9-year cycle and also a year of like intense shedding, a lot of rebirth energy. So basically we were asked and are still being asked to let go of anything that is holding us back from what it is that we're trying to call in, what it is that we're trying to embody. And that can come up in a lot of different ways. So for me personally, I've been grieving. My 15-year-old cat, Mona, she passed away on December 27th. It was fairly sudden. And that was a really hard thing for me because she's been basically a companion for me for the past 15 years. I got her when she was like 6 months old. You know, we were both babies. We grew up together. And for a lot of the time, it was just the two of us. So that hit me really hard. It's been a lot of grief. And you know, it's time. She lived a beautiful, full life. We had such a beautiful experience together, and that makes loss even harder sometimes, right? And we can understand that things need to change, that death is inevitable, that grief is an inevitable part of life, and it can be extremely challenging to process. So what I've really been called into is just allowing the grief to pass, to really lean into it, to really take care of myself, to embody the unconditional love, the acceptance of whatever is coming up, right? And it's been a little bit of a challenge. I've been doing a lot of art. The first few days I was just crying all the time, you know, and now I feel like I've moved into a new pocket of space where I'm just like really allowing the surrendering to the process to fully happen and just really embodying whatever wants to come through for me. So it's been a lot of like moving my body, a lot of listening to music that I've been enjoying, you know, like zoning out, watching TV when I want to, like cooking myself meals, making sure that I'm eating healthily, allowing myself a little bit of indulgence too, which I'm a huge proponent of, within reason and within, you know, balanced limitations. So it's all about feeling into how your body is feeling and what your body is honestly needing, and basically just not repressing anything that's coming up, but also leaning into the idea that even though we're not repressing it or suppressing it, we're also moving into a state of acceptance for what is coming up, what is showing up. So, and what I've also been hearing and receiving for myself a lot, and this may apply to you and whatever you may have been moving through the past few weeks or months, potentially even years, but I'm talking about this shorter pocket of time where a lot of things, like especially around if you celebrate Christmas, the solstice, that kind of energy, there was a massive energetic transition that happened in that space. And for me, I had a lot of triggers come up. I had a lot of invitations into speaking my truth, there was a lot of heavy emotion that came up for me even prior to the passing of Mona. There was a lot of hard conversations that came up, and a lot of really difficult triggers for me, especially around family, which is, often what happens this time of year when we're celebrating with each other. We're having, there can be a lot of grief that comes along with the holiday season as well. So, but what I was really tapping into is the idea that there's like a portal that's open right now. And this transition portal that has been open and will continue to be open is allowing us to pull everything up, all the murky shit that's sitting dormant in our system, right? So anything that is being triggered within you is being triggered for your benefit so that you can actually look at it and clear it, which also means that we often are having the things that we would use to numb, to distract, to avoid. All of those things are not working right now. They're not allowing us to ignore these pockets of energy that are coming up, that are asking to be transmuted and asking to be accepted and embodied and surrendered to, right? So, my advice to you, and it's been advice that I've of course been following myself, is whatever comes up, just be with it. Don't try and suppress it. Don't try and repress it. Don't try and avoid it or pretend that it's not happening. Don't try and numb, distract, avoid, whatever. Just move through it. Allow it to move through you. Don't grip it. Don't hold it. Don't attach to it. Don't identify with it, but allow it to move through you. So for me, I've been doing a lot of walks, a lot of yin yoga, a lot of stretching, a lot of like dancing, just like shaking it, shake your butt. Allow for that energy to really come up and move. A lot of crying. If you want to cry, energetic clearing. I've been taking a lot of spiritual baths. The city that I'm in right now is having a bit of a water crisis. We had one of our main water mains, which supplies basically, we have 2 water treatment plants, and basically this massive water main supplies water to the city from one of the main treatment plants. So we are running basically at half capacity of treated water in the city, and so we're having to clear, or what am I trying to say? My brain is not working right now. We are having to conserve water. So that's been really difficult to try and do what I need to do to take care of myself, to clear my energy, everything like that, and also follow this water conservation protocol. So, we are being inspired to be creative, to allow ourselves to just like work with what it is that we have in front of us, right? What is it that you feel like you don't have access to, and how can you find the tools to have access to whatever it is that you need from a creative perspective? So how can you better utilize what you have available to you right now? And how can you be grateful for that? How can you take advantage of that? And how can you use this as a time that you can get really creative and be fully surrendered into the concept of you have everything that you need, right? And that doesn't mean that we bypass things with gratitude. That doesn't mean that we don't allow ourselves to be frustrated. It doesn't mean that we don't speak our mind. It doesn't mean that we don't embody our actions and reactions fully. But how can we carry a perspective that allows us to feel grounded and to feel supported and safe and protected within this framework, whatever is coming up for us? How can we use it to our full advantage and still remind ourselves that we are in control and we have the power, right? How can you allow it to not disempower you and allow it to move the energy that needs to be moved and allow you to get really creative and intuitive with how you work with these energies and how you work with whatever's coming up in your system, right? And that doesn't mean it's easy, right? Like I'm speaking firsthand here. It doesn't mean that it's easy. It doesn't mean that it is not challenging. It doesn't mean that we don't have the human experience that comes with it. It just means that we come from an embodied place and remind ourselves that wherever we have the ability to claim our power, we do that. And we claim it over and over and over and over again, right? We claim it over and over again because you are sovereign, you are embodied, you are a creator being, right? And so how do you take full ownership and full acceptance for what is showing up for you? And that doesn't mean that we have to want it to continue. It doesn't mean that we have to feel this way all the time, that we're accepting shit that doesn't serve us, whatever, right? It just means that we take full radical ownership and allow full radical surrender to what is and to what is coming up for us. Okay, so I am feeling called to pull some cards. Oh, and just to close out, I was just going to speak on the year of the snake ends officially. The lunar year, the Chinese New Year, ends on February 16th, which just happens to be my birthday this year. So we may have a month and a half or so, a month and a bit to move through this energy. And so I invite you to take full advantage of what's coming up, what's allowing these energies to close out, what's allowing you to reflect and connect and embody. And some things are coming up from larger than this, like just 9-year cycle. For me, I've been having a lot of stuff come up from my teenage years. And just a lot of like, just whatever is allowing you to reflect on the energies that are coming up, allowing you, if you have memories, if you have energies, that are surfacing, this is the time for us to really like allow those things to close out completely, to take the lessons that we can take from those experiences and allow ourselves to just fully accept and fully connect to what's coming up so that we can, when it's time, move fully into this new energy and this new cycle, because it feels like we're about to really start moving. Oh, geez. Okay. All right. There's a lot that just flew out at the end there. Okay. All right. This one on the floor here, 2 of Cups. All right. So, okay, all 3 of these that flew out are Pentacles. So we have 3 2s on the board. Okay, we got 2 Pentacles, 2 of Cups, 2 of Swords, Page of Pentacles, Knight of Pentacles, and the Chariot. So it's really interesting. I just took a pause just to tune into this particular deck. If you guys have tuned into a reading before from me, you know that I like to tune into the energy of the actual deck that I'm using, and the actual guidebook of the deck that I'm using, because although they have like very universal meanings, right? We have different interpretations that are commonly known and used in the tarot. We also have slightly specific energies that are represented by these particular decks. So I like to get to know the deck specifically and also check into the guidebook to see what these are really speaking on. So some of these we don't really need to tune in much. The number 2, so the Chariot is also about balance, but the number 2 is also very much about balance. So we're speaking on balance, union of opposites, right? A peaceful pause is the 2 of Swords, where there's sort of these 2 very seemingly discordant or tense sort of experiences, and it's sort of allowing us to take a pause, to take a breath, to reflect, which is what I was speaking on, right? The idea of reflection, the idea of trying to harmonize and just sort of alchemize and really learn from the experiences that we've had and have all this old energy come up and just sort of show us and teach us what is it, where is it that we are wanting or needing to learn from the experiences so that we can fully let them go, right? The 2 of Pentacles is very much about balancing out. I just want to see what it said specifically. This one is interesting because this one says the trouble's not as serious as had been imagined. And that one I find really interesting because I think through a lot of this reflection, right, all of this stuff that has previously felt really heavy has felt really dense, especially if you're like me and have had a lot of really challenging life experiences on your path, right? If you have gone through a lot of things that have pushed you into where you are now to allow you to fully alchemize and embody and become empowered so that you can help to empower the collective experience on this planet and uplift, to help bring people out of the density that we've been sort of cycling in for a long time. If that's what you're here to embody, you've had to go through a lot of the most challenging and dense experiences on this planet in order for you to learn the energies and for you then to learn how to alchemize them, right? And that often is not an easy process. For me, I'm 38, almost 39. And, the large part of my life has been extremely challenging, filled with a lot of adversity, a lot of difficulty, a lot of, really heavy themes in my life, in my relationships, and and so as you learn those things, what once felt really heavy, right? What you once felt powerless to, what you once felt at the mercy of and felt completely held down by. And you may still go through those experiences. I definitely do too, where, in the process of learning how to alchemize those things, we need to fully experience them, right? And so we can often still go into the stories of being powerless, the stories of feeling less than or whatever. It's all part of the process, right? So I'm not trying to say that like we just magically overcome them and they never come up for us again, right? Or that they're never challenging, but we may have through this process, especially through this this purging process that we're going through right now, we may be having the experience of these challenges that previously felt insurmountable, these difficulties, these hardships in our lives. They may start feeling like less than they did before, right? Like not as insurmountable, as not as big of a deal, right? Like, oh, that's actually nothing, right? It's not a big deal. And that's part of that purging process too, because as we learn how to alchemize them, the weight of those experiences is no longer needed. That catalyst, that trigger point is no longer needed. So we become more able to move through those energies and move them completely out of our bodies because we've closed out that cycle. And so this to me feels like a really massive chapter of closing out. And that's why I was saying, you know, larger than just a 9-year cycle. Yeah, where we can look at the last 9 years and look at the themes and have the more immediate things coming up. But we may be experiencing closure from our lifetime and even past lifetimes, right? There may be a level of energetic purging, clearing, letting go that will allow us to move into a completely new chapter in our lives, right? Because we no longer require to hold on to the density that was required to awaken, to alchemize, to embody into the power of who you are, right? And that's what we're here to do. That's what we're here to embody, is to show firsthand what it means to be an alchemist, what it means to be a creator, what it means to be somebody who is fully empowered and fully embodied in their life, right? And that is how we allow people to witness what is possible and to teach them how to do it for themselves. We shift the collective, we shift ourselves, we shift the entire experience of what it means to be a human, because we have collectively gone through what we need to go through in this phase, in this cycle. So there's a massive karmic clearing that's happening, and we're seeing it through all these twos. And this Two of Cups is showing us this, like, again, this harmony, this emotional harmony, this relational harmony. So the number 2 is a feminine number. And if you identify with the divine feminine and the divine feminine awakening on this planet, which I definitely do, you're here to really empower the feminine energy, right? To remind ourselves of what it means to balance out the masculine and the feminine energies on this planet, because that is how we step fully into our embodied creatorship, right? Is through allowing those energies to heal, to transform, and to then unify, to work together, to start creating from this space of wholeness, of unification through the heart space, through the wholeness, the embodiment of wholeness. And so a lot of this awakening, a lot of these challenges have had to do with the lack of balance between the masculine and the feminine on this planet. And they've also been there to help you to awaken and to alchemize through the feminine wounds, right? Through the feminine wounds, through the patriarchal wounds, whether you're masculine, feminine, somewhere in between, however you identify, however you embody, it doesn't matter, right? I'm not talking gender, I'm not talking sex, I'm not talking anything, I'm just talking about energy. And so the number 2 is really speaking of this, like the grace and the power that is coming up through this feminine energy, the reawakening of this balancing of the masculine and the feminine space. So it says that the number 2 aims to bring peace and balance back to a situation. It embodies intuition, instinct, empathy, partnership, coming together, the balancing of 2 people, the balance of opposites, concepts, things, teamwork. It embodies the middle path. The path where we can say, okay, so how did this transform me, right? What does the middle path look like? How do you embody the middle path? How do you embody divine neutrality, right? And how do you use everything to your advantage? And that's what the number 2 is speaking on: union, unity, harmony. And so it's really interesting that not only 3 2s came up, but also the Chariot, which is all about embodying unification of opposing energies. And so I'll speak on what this says specifically from this deck. It says, control over tension of opposites, triumph over all difficulties through perseverance, a balanced life, success. And so the Chariot is also all about forward movement, but forward movement from a balanced state. So that can be really cool. So we're seeing a lot of, again, this divine neutrality, this like harmonious letting go. It's like a ceremonial letting go of everything that has kept us in an imbalanced state, in a disempowered state, which is often what the imbalanced energy looks like, is disempowerment. And so when we're having this new perspective come up, how are we looking at our lives? How are we looking at our experiences through the lens of empowerment? And how can we step back into that fully empowered state of mind, state of being, where we can then move forward in this space of full empowerment? And so that comes into the Page and the Knight of Pentacles. So the Pentacles are obviously talking about the real world, the physical world. They're often talking about material. They're talking about earth. They're talking about tangible material things. How are we looking at this like actual physical space, and how are we then taking action in this physical space? So the Page and the Knight are often speaking on action. They are both action. They are both hardworking. They are both talking about perseverance. So these specifically talk about being serious, scholarly, and hardworking. The Page is speaking all about new ideas as well. New ideas that can be birthed from this clarity, right? From this new perspective. What new ideas can be birthed from this space of balance, neutrality, harmony? What can we do with this? How does this free up space for us to look at things differently, to look at them more creatively? How can we approach things if we don't have the same perspective on the problems, the experiences that we had before? How do we embody new ideas? How do we embody from a different new place with the new perspective that we've gained from this shedding, from this purging, from this harmonization, right? And this is also talking about usefulness and the ability to serve. That's the Knight. So as again, talking about being hardworking and being of service. So how can we bring these new ideas into this new space and have them be working in service of ourselves and of the collective in brand new ways, right? So from this clearing out, from this closing out of this chapter, this 1 year that we're now stepping into this year. And it's interesting too, because from the Chinese zodiac point of view, we're moving into the year of the fire horse. So horses speak on movement forward, quick movement forward, and the same with the fire, right? It's all about like lighting a fire up under your butt. How do we move forward? We've been moving through, and for me, this last even 9-year cycle has been about, it's been about learning the lessons, right? And then, so this closure is a huge moving through of this new energy that's allowing us to then, like, what do we do with the new ideas that we've experienced from this last cycle that we've been going through, right? How do we allow that into this new space in a way that we don't have to carry the burden with us, right? We don't have to carry the burden with us. How do we carry the strength without the burden, right? So when we set it down, we still have the strength that we've received from this experience, but we don't have to keep carrying it. And so then we're freed up, this strength that we've embodied. Yeah, exactly. The strength that we've embodied is now allowing us to use that strength, but we don't have to use it to carry all the old shit anymore. It was to build us up, and now we've built ourselves up. So what happens with that strength when we put everything else down, right? What happens? How do we use that strength to our advantage? So what came up, and I love that the dragon's coming up too, because there's been a lot of dragon energy that's been coming up, but this is all about beyond cycles. So it's not only about closing out cycles, but it's about moving beyond the cycles that we've been experiencing for a very long time. And I'll just show you that card again. There's that nice full moon in the background there that we just moved through, this first full moon of 2026. And it was a wolf moon, a super moon. I wasn't really paying too much attention to what it was really speaking on, and there's been a lot of astrology that it has been, you know, moving very significantly, but I don't speak a lot on astrology because I don't follow it that closely. If it comes into my awareness, I might look into it a little bit, but I know that there's been a lot of massive transits and transformation that have been happening, but I don't know exactly like what they're about. I know Venus just moved into Capricorn. My Venus personally is in Capricorn, so I think that's really interesting. But it's really about like harmonization and like movement through embodied action in the physical world, where things are no longer, chaos is no longer being allowed to take the reins, you know? And these two, I'm not really called to speak on what they mean, but these cards are super activating. So sometimes it's just about the energies that are showing up. And if there's, you know, there's like this beautiful like solar, so there's the solar and the moon, and then there's this like, this feels sort of like solar energy, but also like fire energy a little bit. So, yeah, this one is all about sacred mountain. So it's almost like we got to the top of this like sacred mountain, this sacred activation container that we went through. And this is Dolphin Baby. I love these cards. The only thing that I don't like about these cards, because this is the Lemurian Starchild Oracle deck, and I love it. I love it, I love it, I love it. And I got this mini deck because this is a mini deck, you know, it's a pretty big deck already. But I got the mini deck because it A, was cheaper, but B, is just easier. Like the other deck looked massive, so I don't really like to shuffle like huge cards. But the only thing about this is that it has a QR code deck guidebook instead of an actual guidebook. And I wish that it had an actual guidebook because I'm always filming on my phone, so I can't easily just you know, scan the QR code and also film on my phone at the same time. It doesn't really work for me. So, so oftentimes I more just move with the energies. And like I said, they're very activating cards. So something may speak out to me either in the imagery or something else, but I tend to not really move too deeply into that layer of meaning. And I may tune into them in the edit and either post them on the screen or post them in the comments afterwards if they feel relevant to me. If not, then we got everything. And so I'm just going to close out. I don't usually do book divination, but this is a book by one of my favorite artists and authors, Miranda July. It's actually a signed copy that I got signed back in 2012 when I went to see her live. She's amazing. She does such cool work. But so this is a book of short stories, and I'm feeling called to do a closeout of a book divination, which I don't really ever do. Okay, and that's really interesting because I've been tuning into a lot of stuff. I've been watching a lot of stuff from 2002 specifically, and this is really cool because this story specifically is called Making Love in 2003. So there's definitely like a chapter that's closing from around the beginning of the millennium, 2001, 2002, 2003, that I've really been connecting with. So this says, suddenly I felt a misty consciousness as of something forgotten, a thrill of returning thought, and somehow the mystery of language was revealed to me. Only it wasn't the mystery of language we needed revealed. It was mystery itself, before language, still draped in the mists. I saw the darkness swirling inside him. I saw that his feet did not touch the ground when he played basketball at recess. In moments, he was flying, not like a bird, but subtly like a person. After a while, I did not try very hard to help him read. I decided that reading was the wrong direction for our relationship. Not everyone has to be literate. There are some great reasons for resisting language, and one of them is love. Anyway, so I think that's really speaking on this concept of like how I've really been called to move in this next chapter is not through a conscious understanding, but rather just with my intuitive space. It's like we're really being called to move from the space of intuition and instinct and empathy, right? All of these are now coming into play in the real world where we don't have a guidebook necessarily for where we're moving next because we're moving beyond the cycles that we've moved through before. And so when we're being asked to move through those spaces, we're also being asked to move through the ways in which we're used to navigating this plane of existence. And that can be really challenging. But what we're doing is we're allowing for a new way to be embodied. And that's what we're talking about, those new ideas, right? The new ways of moving through the world and the space with this new awakened feminine power. This feminine power is something that has been not accessible to us in the same way. And so we don't know how to use it, and we don't know how to move from a space that's non-linear. We don't know how to move from a space that's not logical and mental, right? And so oftentimes, like for me, my initiation into the feminine energy has really been all about learning how to navigate in a nonlinear way and learning how to work through life in the way of the heart, and moving through instinct and moving often in a way that feels counterintuitive, but it's counterintuitive because we don't know how to access our intuition properly, right? We don't actually trust how to move through the space in a non-linear way, in a non-logical way, right? And so oftentimes that feels extremely challenging and extremely uncomfortable for us. And so it feels counterintuitive because it's a different space than we're used to embodying, but that doesn't mean that it's not the best space for us to move through, and it doesn't mean that it doesn't allow us to move through exactly the ways that we need to move through, right? So surrendering to this idea of needing to let go of the linear logical pacing and allow ourselves to move through the space by feel. And that's really going to be something that's super significant in this next chapter, especially for those of us that have gone through this initiation process, this awakening process, is now moving through with feminine power, with feminine agency, with allowing ourselves to work with the energies that are present, right? And feeling our way through the energies that are present within us and allowing that to be our guidebook more so than anything else, right? And that's really difficult, but that's at least for me what feels really what I'm being called to. The non-linear, the non-logical, the it's like learning to speak a different language, but learning to speak a language that doesn't have any words, that doesn't have any physical material meaning. And so it's like, this different, I'm lacking words for it because there are no words for it. But the more that we allow ourselves to be present in that space of the not knowing, the feeling it out, and trusting that the wisdom that's present in the body, the wisdom that's present in the feeling, is going to take us exactly where we need to be, exactly where we want to go. All right, so that's what's coming through today. I don't know what this title is going to be yet, but thank you so much for tuning in. Happy 2026 again. I'm not sure exactly what's going to be coming through in the future. I would like to start setting up some in-person stuff, some one-on-one readings, some energy healings, all that stuff. So stay tuned. I hope to get that up and running soon. And in the meantime, yeah, nice to see you. Thanks for tuning in. And we'll check in again soon. Okay, take care.